भगवतां नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन क्रदिता पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणी भगवती अष्टादशाध्यायिनी अम्ब त्वामनुसन्ततामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणी.
So in the middle of the para, we had that para, no? And it is achintyam. From there we have to start. Yeah. So basically, Bhagavan is explaining what is that. He is telling that already the Akshara Brahma Upasaka, that is the Jnani, he is describing, so that we can exclude him from the discussion of comparison of yogis. So it is, we are in the middle of that. We can just read that, and it is achintyam.
Yeah, and it is achintyam.
Prashant is not dying.
Not an object of thought. Brahman cannot be objectified. It is that in which all objects have their being. A thought cannot objectify Brahman. Brahman is the truth of the very thought, though it is independent of thought. Being the Swarupa of the thought, Brahman is Achintya, not an object of any thought. What does it really mean, object of any thought?
Yeah, basically it is subject. Since it is a subject, it is not an object of any thought. Because, and another thing is, it is not available for any chintya, any object of thought has to have parameters, coordinates, like time and space coordinates. And then only it can be objectified. It doesn't have. Brahman, the very fact, actually even if you look at the dhatu, like how we have this, brah meaning infinite, in the brah dhatu meaning infinite, like it is not having, it is not bound by time or space. The big, which I have explained, the big, without qualifying an object, the big, when you say, it is ultimately big. That what we get, no, in somewhere in Gita itself it comes, Anuronaniya, Mahatomaniya, Mahiyan, or in Anubrahat Grisastulaha in Vishnu Sahasranama. Anuru Bruha Grisastula, in the sense, the smaller than the smallest, the bigger than the biggest. So when that is how it is, the infinite in terms of both time and space, then it is not objectified. So it cannot be comprehended. Achintya means what? You cannot bring it to your mind. It cannot be an object of your thought. That is what he is saying, Brahman is Achintya. That is how it is defined. Brahman itself is defined that way only. Yeah.
Sankara says, what is accessible by the sense organs cannot be thought of by the mind.
Can be. What is accessible by the sense organs can be thought of by the mind. Yeah.
Mind. Because Aksharam Brahma is the opposite of that. It cannot be thought of. It is neither available as an object of sense perception, even to the Sakshi, the witness, nor is it accessible. Why? Because the witness is Brahman.
See, why he says even to the Sakshi meaning, for example, sweetness. Sweetness, you cannot objectify it. You can only know. Sakshi Pratyaya, meaning you by the taste can be experienced, but it cannot be defined as an object. But even though it cannot be defined as an object, sweetness you can experience. So that is called Sakshi Pratyaksha. Sakshi meaning you as a witness can have that feeling of sweetness, any even emotion. Sukha, dukkha and all you cannot objectify, but you can feel it. But as far as Brahman is concerned, you cannot even Sakshi Pratyaksham also cannot be there. That's what he is trying to say.
If it is not available in any way as an object, how am I going to know Brahman? There is known is an object of thought, like a pot. No knowledge is possible without a thought objectifying the object in order to know it. If Brahman is Achintya, how to know Brahman? The argument is that anything known is an object of thought because of the fact that it is known like a pot.
So, Swamiji, one minute. This you said this Sakshi, even to the Sakshi, the witness, it's not available.
Yeah, it's not accessible. It is not objectifiable. That's all it means. It is not available. You can understand, but you cannot objectify. Achintya. Achintya meaning you cannot objectify, or you cannot even have a you cannot have a Sakshi Pratyaksha. Sakshi Pratyaksha meaning available for objectification as a taste, feeling, emotion. That is called Sakshi. Indriya Pratyaksha is object, like the eyes, ears, nose, etc. Sakshi Pratyaksha is feeling, sweetness, etc. Whereas this understanding is Sakshi Swarupa. Understanding is Sakshi Swarupa. That you can, once you understand, is self-evident. That is what is self-evident. Meaning, it is Sakshi Swarupa. There again, it cannot be objectified by the Sakshi or even felt by the Sakshi. Your own Swarupa, you can, like for example, you cannot see yourself by yourself. You need a mirror. Okay. Otherwise you cannot see. In the same way, Sakshi, Swarupa being Brahman or Atma, it is not available for objectification or even for Shakti Pratyaksha like feeling and all that. But you can only understand. By negating whatever is objectifiable, whatever you are feeling, whatever is happening in the mind, everything you keep, I am seeing all of them. I know I am seeing I have the feeling of, I understand the feeling of my emotion, etc., etc. So finally, after negating all that, what you arrive at is the self, which you can understand. As an understanding, it is possible, but not as a witness perception or even indriya perception. That's what, right now, what is achintya, what he means is, it is not available for indriya perception or sakshi perception, witness. So, and he leaves it at that. So, the Brahman is not available for objectification or for thinking as an object or even sakshi pratyaksha. By saying all that, by negating, you will be able to arrive at your own Swarupa. Automatically, your Swarupa is Swata Siddha. Even the Pramana is not required. You did not objectify it. What is, everything else is evident to the self. Self is self-evident. It need not be evidenced.
Okay.
That is how you have to arrive at. He is arriving at the Achintya, Akshara and Avyaya when he says, as far as a jnani, a person knows, he has arrived at it by negating all that and remaining in himself as Swata Siddha, Swarupa, Brahman, Sakshi, Cheta, Nirgunascha. That is how it comes. So such a person is not, you cannot compare him with a yogi. Yogi is still trying to get. He thinks that he has not arrived at himself. He is still looking for, by dropping the thoughts, by sitting in meditation, or by just leaving all the karma and sitting tight. I will know, or I will see Brahman, or I will get moksha, whatever he thinks. But that is not the way. That is not going to help. You can be without thoughts. You can be without, just because it is not accessible to thought, by becoming thoughtless you cannot become Brahman. It doesn't happen that way. You have to understand what it is all about. That understanding requires your Shravanam, Mananam, Nidhyasanam and all. In the sense, you have to understand that Tathparya, you have to, you have to have that reality understanding by negating what is not real. That is what the whole Shastra is doing that. It is not just sitting in meditation, sitting tight, you are not going to get it. So that is the yogi which is being talked about. That is the sannyasi. By just dropping all work, just becoming, not doing anything, you don't become a sannyasi. Because that, I don't do any work. That person is still a karta only. That we have explained before also. Karmani akarmaya pasche, akarmani cha karmayaha, sa buddhiman manusyesu, sa Krishna karma krite. Meaning what you mean? The person who is seeing actionlessness in action, not and also sees action in his actionlessness. Meaning action in actionlessness meaning I am actionless. If you keep thinking, that means you are still there.
Action, yes.
And that doesn't help. That's what he is trying to say. So that is what is the differentiation between a yogi and a jnani. So that differentiation, and also there is another element of yoga brought out in Bhagavad Gita alone, in the whole Shastra, Karma Yoga. Whereas yoga, everyone knows, yoga is Patanjali Yoga Sutra, Chitta Vritti Nirodha, living out all thoughts, shutting out all thoughts, sitting tight. That is the yoga. Generally, even meditation, whole world is talking about that only. But what Karma Yoga talks about is in karma, actionless, in actionlessness, in action. Even while doing, you must be able to understand that you are actionless. For that, you have to do the action with a lot of yoga attitude, Ishvara Arpana Buddhi, Prasada Buddhi. The whole Gita explains in various ways. What is that? Taking the recourse to Yuddha as action. Trying to tell Arjuna, even while doing war, by being a nimitta matram bhava, Savyasachi, by doing you surrender your that I am Arjuna, that buddhi to Ishvara, and do what you are supposed to do. That way you will get the discipline of disidentification with your body, mind, aham buddhi, mama buddhi, mahyam, this is my chariot, and this is my war, etc. All those I, my, mine, the three, I, my, mine, I, me, myself, is generally what is driving the whole world. That has to be dropped. That is not reality. Reality is I, me, myself belong to a set called Jagat. Everyone's body, mind, senses put together is called Jagat. And that is changing all the time, changing. Because why it is all the time changing? Because there is really nothing is there. It is just movement, which I've been explaining. Just if you put a glow and just move it, it will give a word, but there is nothing except the glow. So it has to necessarily move. It has to keep moving because nothing is there. No real thing is there. Just movement. Only movement keeps it going. That is why earth is moving, sun is moving, everything is moving. If something stops, the whole thing will come. It will get resolved into Brahman.
Yes.
That is the beauty of the whole thing. Everything is kept moving, giving you an appearance. And that also there is another logic. What is not there before, what will not be there later, it only appears in between. And if you apply that logic to everything, even Jagat was not there before, even in terms of science, Jagat will not be there. That means what the Jagat you see and transact with is only an appearance. That is Nyaya, that Shastra Nyaya very holds good for everything. But appearance means what? Mithya, that's all. In sense, Satchet, another logic is Satchet na badeta, Asatchet na pratiyeta. Satta arduna change ahad. But it is changing. Asat means totally non-existence in Cholam days because it is available for transaction. So Satchet na badeta, Asatchet na pratiyeta. Pratiyeta meaning not available for transaction, but it is available. So you cannot call it Asat. So you cannot call it Sat. You cannot call it Asat meaning not existent, somewhere in between. So Shastra says Kinchit Bhavamasti. The whole logic is so easy for Shastra, it is easy to say. For them, because they are so convinced, Kinchit Bhavamasti. Why are you unnecessarily taking too much on your head? That is what Bhagavan is telling Arjuna.
A pot is known and it's an object of proof. The extension is that Brahman has to be known and therefore has to become an object of thought. Brahman has to be known, otherwise why study Shastra? Why undertake any spiritual pursuit if it cannot be known? If knowledge of Brahman liberates, but Brahman cannot be known, how can I pursue that knowledge? It is like knowing that a rabbit's horn will cure cancer. It may, but I cannot start searching for a rabbit's horn when I know that there is no such thing. Similarly, if knowledge of Brahman is going to liberate me from samsara, but Brahman is not available for knowledge because it is achintya, how can I pursue it? It is important to understand that achintya means not an object of a thought, but it is yourself, the very swarupa of the thought. Being yourself, it is self-evident. All that is needed is to remove the erroneous notions you have about yourself. Atma is not an object to be seen, but the subject mistaken for something else. That mistake has to be corrected. There is a particular vritti that can give rise to the knowledge. I am Brahman. It assumes the very form of Atma in which there is no subject-object relationship. In every piece of knowledge, there is a subject-object division, a knower and an object known, but here there is no such division. Detailed explanation given in volume 5, chapter 7, pages 437, 439 of the subheadings, uniqueness of knowledge and akanda akara.
Akanda akara vritti. Akanda akara vritti meaning where there is no real vritti. Akanda akara vritti meaning a vritti which is unlimited. A vritti which does not have a time and space dimension. It's called akanda akara vritti. That is you only. You only can say that I am akanda akara vritti. Nobody else can say. Because you, the being, that is what he says here. Self-evident. Self-evident being is the one who is getting all the vrittis. And you are the one who is not subject to any of the vrittis. That means you are the akanda akara vritti that we have explained here. He himself says, volume 5, chapter 7, we have explained that when you are talking about Ishvara, tad ananyatvam, Maicha, Ananya, Yogena, Bhakti, Ravi, Vichanya, all those things will come later also. Tad, what you call, Mataha, Anyaha, Na. When we discuss that, there if you look at that, what you call, the 7th chapter, I have sent you a comprehensive, this thing, note. Complete a 7th chapter, and if you again go through, you will get the understanding. Again, this is already discussed, but the thing is that, even though it is already discussed, you have to keep looking at it again and again for us to understand what is the second akara vritti. What is not vritti, which is, we cannot call it a vritti. In the sense, you, the being, you alone is capable of not being available for any vritti, but still you are there. That you cannot deny. But you cannot be objectified. What he is asking here, without getting objectified, how can I know? You are the one who objectify everything. So, you need not be objectified, self-evident. That is what we are all the time discussing. The whole thing is, you the being need not be objectified. You are there. Whatever you can objectify, keep saying that it is not me, it is not me. Finally, what is left? It is only you. And you have to understand and own it up. And without looking for objectification. That is what finally the understanding is all about. That's what is arriving at. Yeah.
The subject is involved in this knowledge, but not as an object. At the same time, the vritti is necessary for only that can destroy ignorance.
Yeah. Ignorance is what? Ignorance is what I am not. We have to keep on destroying. We have to keep on negating. It's only negation. Yeah.
It cannot be destroyed by consciousness. If it could, you would have no ignorance.
This is very important to understand. Swarupa Chaitanyam na ajnana virodhi. Consciousness, which is the nature of Atma, is not opposed to ignorance, neither self-ignorance nor any other ignorance. If you are ignorant of Chinese language, you are conscious of it, but that consciousness does not affect the ignorance, which is why your self-ignorance can continue indefinitely. What is opposed to ignorance is vritti jnana, knowledge that takes place in the form of a vritti. It is said. That is
why, see, the problem is, generally we understand that ignorance can be removed by only vritti jnana. So we say, okay, if Brahman I have to know, I have to remove the ignorance of Brahman. I have to get the vritti jnana. That is what approach is. But what he says, he has already said, what you need to do is, you have to remove what you call all being yourself, it is self-evident. All that is needed is to remove the erroneous notions you have about yourself. So, in the case of self-knowledge or Atma-jnanam or Brahma-jnanam, what you need to do is to remove the ignorance about what is not self. That's all. That much only you can do. You can only negate. And when you negate what you are not, and you will automatically stay with yourself, the being. And you don't have to do it endlessly, because everything is what you are not. You cannot keep on, lifelong you cannot keep on negating everything, anything and everything. When you have to, after doing for some time, you understand that your Swarupa is the being. That is simultaneously that the Shastra is talking about, is your Swarupa is self-evident, the being. That is, which we have been generally talking about, all the first 6 chapters, thereafter also. The Desa Kala Vastu Aparichinnam, easiness, and also Chaitanya Rupam, meaning the knowingness, that is the Chaitanyam, that is all the time, it is akin to a light of consciousness, light of consciousness, and being all the time. That is you, that is your Swarupa, and need not be objectified. It is self-evident, Swata Siddha. And because it is Swata Siddha, it will not accept anything else as my identification. So naturally you have to negate it. That Shastra is doing it for you. And once you negate, and simultaneously you understand that it was Swata Siddha, Satchit, Ananta and all that, what you have been going through, if you are able to meditate upon it and understand and remove all your confusion and claim that reality, then you can stay with it. That is what that Achintyam, Arupam, Aksharam is that is how a Jnani understands his Swarupa. And he lives a contemplative life, meaning he understands his Swarupa and goes along with the world. At no point in time he identifies with anything that is happening around, but at the same time he will, because the other people look at it differently, he will go along with them in the sense, to that extent he can be helpful, he will be helpful, he will not, if at all they make a mistake going against Dharma, I will explain to them, or else keep away. This is how, that is why it has also told, Jadaval Lokam Acharet. When Bhagavan asks, how will they behave, the Sthira Prajna, how will be, Jadaval Lokam, he will be like anyone else also. Only you cannot really make him, you cannot look at him by his or how he talks, how he eats and all, and imitate and become a jnani. You cannot do like that. You have to understand. But he will be like everyone, because his body and mind senses are available like every other body mind senses in the Jagat. It's part of the Jagat. So he will be appearing like that only to others. But he will have a clear identification with the self and no identification with his body mind senses. So because of that, he will not have the afflictions of samsaritvam in his life. But at the same time, he will be helpful to others, like that. In the sense that he has already explained, the Sthita Prajna Ka Bhasha, the entire 20 verses, he explains how he will conduct himself. And all that. That applies. That applies to this jnani which he is talking about now. Yeah.
It is said, Manasa eva anudrashtavyam. Only by the mind is it to be known. At the same time, Manasa achintyam. It cannot be thought of by the mind. We have 2 statements which together amount to saying it has to be known by the mind even though it is not accessible by the mind. What does it mean? It has to be known by the mind alone, but no mind can ever know it. Such statements are not meant to paralyze the reasoning like a Zen koan, but to reveal the truth.
Zen is basically Buddhism, yeah.
The form of paradox used in Zen Buddhism as an aid to meditation and a means of gaining intuitive knowledge. Being the subject, it is not an object of your thought. Yet to know it, the mind must have a vritti that destroys ignorance with reference to Brahman. It does not have to reveal it because every thought is revealed by that Brahman. The mind has the capacity to reveal an object, and its presence is necessary to know an object. Without it, there are two possibilities. Either you would see everything at the same time or nothing at all. But you do always see some given thing. Therefore, you require a mind that has Vyanchakatva, Vyanchakatva, the capacity to reveal an object. It has to undergo a particular change to objectify a given object. With reference to Atma, this is not the case because Atma is the one whose consciousness is enjoyed by the mind. For Atma to be revealed, you do not require a means of knowledge to give rise to a thought that reveals it. The thought is seen because of Atma. You are always self-evident, the only one whose existence does not require proof. If the self also requires proof, to whom is the proof to be given? There is no other self. Atma is the only thing in this creation that is self-evident. Every other thing has to become evident to the self for its existence to be proved. Because it is self-evident, it does not need to be illumined. It is the illuminator. All that is required is to remove the ignorance of the self-evident self being Brahman, Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. The removal of ignorance occurs in the mind. So it is proper to say that it has to be known by the mind. At the same time, it is not an object of the mind. Paradoxes like these are revealing. They are not meant to stun your reasoning. Actually, it stuns our reasoning.
That is why that the paradox, Gita is very famous for its paradoxes. Like Bhagavan himself straight away, Mastani Sarva Bhutani, Nacha Mastani Sarva Bhutani. Same verse he says, tells both. Because yes, we should not be stuck with any, any worldly observation as Brahman or Atma. See, as simple as that. Anything that is observed is different from the observer. And everything in the world, including your body, mind, senses, emotions, life, etc., all are observed. The observer is the only truth. The observer is the being. Even your mind, right now what he talks about in the mind, whatever is happening in the mind has knowledge of Chinese language, does not have knowledge of Chinese language. Both the ignorance and the knowledge of Chinese language is known in the mind only. So both, it is available for ignorance. I know what I know and I know what I do not know. And that I we are referring to. The I which is available to even objectify ignorance, that I don't know these things and I know this. So it is beyond the known and the unknown. So that is why it is, when it is beyond the known and unknown, it is not knowable. Means what? It is knowledge per se. That is what Chaitanyam is all about. Chaitanyam means knowledge per se. In the sense, knowingness, it is not its attribute, it is its reality. Satyam is its reality. Jnanam is its reality. Anantam meaning it removes all the definitive connotations of Satyam and Jnanam, which whenever we say knowledge, we always talk about knowledge of one language or knowledge of one subject. No, knowingness. It is not knowledge of a particular object or something. Anantam knowledge, Jnanam meaning Jnanam which is not bound by an object. Knowingness per se. Satyam. Satyam in a given situation is Satyam. In another situation it becomes Asatyam. No. Anantam Satyam. The Anantam qualifies both Satyam and Jnanam. Anantam means what? Limitless. Meaning neither bound by time nor bound by space. And that sort of a Satyam. Satyam, that is why Satyam meaning ontological reality. The Satyam which can never be negated. Abhaditam Satyam, which I told some time back. Which can never be negated or improved upon. That sort of. So you must be able to negate all the relative meanings of the words and stay with the Satyam which is not negatable. Jnanam which is not of your given object. And that is Sat and Chit is my Swarupam. And that is what Desakala Vastu Aparichinam. That means timeless, spaceless, and it is not an object. And that is I am. And everything else is objectified by me, including my mind, senses, body, all emotions, all thoughts, everything. So you must be able to see that understanding that happens in the mind devoid of all thought, but not stunning the mind. Not just, you have to understand it, and that understanding mind is called yoga. That is the yogi that is being talked about here as jnani is that understanding person who has removed all the negative understanding, the negating the wrong understanding, all erroneous notions about Atma, and remains. That is again referred to as Akanda Akara Vritti, meaning Akanda Akara meaning the undivided knowingness. Akara meaning all the time existing and undivided. And that means what it says is, it is not Jadam, it is Chaitanyam. See, once you say thoughtless, it can become a Jadam. No, it is not Jadam, it is Chaitanyam.
Yes,
that
yes.
also it removes that notion that can be Jadam. Okay, what stone also is silent, it is meditating all the time. So that will I become like a stone? No. Jadavad lokam achare. They will look like that, but will be Chaitanyam. With the Akanda Akara, that the being. That is what Achintyam Aksharam is being referred to here as the Jnani. So that is how the understanding proceeds.
Brahman is Kutastam. Shankara gives a meaning based on the commonly understood meaning of Kuta, which is false as seen in such expressions as Kuta Rupakam, false testimony. Anything that looks appealing externally but on closer examination is found to be otherwise is Kuta Rupaka. It has a false appearance. False testimony appears real when it is being presented. That is Kuta. Kutastha means that which abides in Kuta. Kute tishtati iti Kutastha. Kuta is Maya. The witness of Maya, that which is behind it is Kutastha Atma. This is Brahman, the basis of truth, Adhisthana of Maya, the witness, Adhyaksha. Adhyaksha. Elsewhere, Svetasvatara Upanishad.
Yeah, this is the one. The Mayam tu Prakritim Vidya, Mayinam tu Maheshwaram.
Maheshwaram.
Yeah. It's a famous statement in the Shastra. The sense, you are Prakritim Vidya, meaning Maya is the Prakriti with which the whole world is there. And since you are the one who is wielding the Maya, naturally you cannot be subject to Maya. The Ishvara is explained, Maheshwaram. Mayinam to Maheshwaram, meaning Ishvara Swarupa, is the one which wields the Maya. So naturally you cannot be subject to Maya. Subject to Maya means what? Changing. What it appears. Nothing is there but it appears. That is called the changing reality. That changing reality you do not subject yourself to. The same thing we can say for ourselves. As long as we understand, once we understand, a jnani understands that he is not subject to the changing reality. Changing reality, I am able to see. The very fact that I am able to transact with the changing reality is because I am changeless. So that is what Atma is, that is what Brahman is, that is what Ishvara Swarupam is. As long as you don't subject yourself to the changing reality, you are not subjecting yourself to Maya. Maya is nothing but changing reality. That's what he is trying to say.
May you understand that the immediate cause of everything is Maya, and the one who wields this Maya is the Lord. As the cause, Maya is all pervasive, but it does not exist apart from Brahman, which means Brahman is necessarily all pervasive. Because Maya has no independent existence apart from it, Brahman is the ultimate cause. Even though Maya appears to be real, when you look into it, it has no existence at all. It is Kuta, and it is also known as Avyakrita, undifferentiated or unmanifest. Ishvara himself says, my Maya is difficult to cross, Mama Maya Duratyaya. In that Maya, which is Kuta, abides Brahman, Kutestitam Kutastam. The use of the seventh case in Kuta has to be properly understood. When we say there is water in a pot, the pot is the container and the water the contained. Can we also say that Brahman is contained in Maya where Maya is the basis, Adhara, and Brahman the based, Adhya, Adheya. Adeya. If Brahman is based upon Maya, it becomes Nama Rupa, one of the objects in the creation. So the meaning here is that which obtains in the Kuta, Maya as the Adhyaksha, as the rope obtains in the snake or the gold in the chain. Brahman is the very basis, the truth of the Kuta. Alternatively, Shankara says it is in Kuta like Rasi, a sign of the zodiac. The Rashis are fixed even though the planets keep moving. From the standpoint of these stationary constellations, the movements of the planets are observed. Just as the Rasi is the stable basis from which all the planetary changes are measured, Brahman is the stable basis upon which the ceaselessly changing Maya is based. Or Kuta can mean anvil. Like an anvil which remains Kutavat tishtati iti kutastaha.
This we have discussed before. I have told.
An anvil on which the blacksmith hammers pieces of heated iron into different shapes remains unchanged. Under the blow of the hammer, the shape of the anvil does not visibly change, but it allows all changes to take place upon it. Kutastha Atma is the basis of Maya. It is all pervasive and therefore Achala. It does not move. Na chalati iti achalaha. There is no place to go. Then naturally it is Dhruva, eternal, because being Kutastha, it does not undergo any change. Not bound by time or place, it is always the same, Nitya.
So that is why, this even in Shastra and even in the Sutra, Panini Sutra, Dhruvam apaye apadanam. Dhruvam means Satyam. Once you even minutely deviate from Dhruvam, then the creation starts. So the creation itself starts only when you move away from Satyam, what is changeless. Or if you move away from changeless, what will happen? Changing will happen. So that is what the whole world is all about. The whole world is changing because it moved away from the changeless. How it moved? That again is by its own Shakti, which I have explained before also, like how Anu explodes, how a smaller particle explodes. In the same way, the being, which is not even Anu Matram, Anuron Aniyan Mahato Magyan, the timeless, spaceless being, when it explodes, it becomes a changing. That is why it is called Sarvajnaha, meaning Sarva Kalpitagnaha, meaning the Kalpita is Madhyama Lopa Samasa in Sanskrit. In the sense, the middle term is quietly kept out, and Ishvara is called Sarvajnaha. Actually, the Sarvam itself is Kalpita only.
You told us that.
Yeah, that is how it is. So we have to understand it that way. Yeah.
The pursuit of Akshara Brahma includes contemplation. Further, what do those who pursue Akshara Brahma do and what happens to them? The pursuit of Akshara Brahma includes contemplation upon Brahman, for which one requires certain disposition. Sanniyamya Indriya Gramam means having complete mastery over the group of organs. Indriya Grama includes sense organs, organs of action and the mind. Sanniyamana here is not only Dhamma, disciplining the organs of action and perception, but also Sama, certain mastery over one's emotions and patterns of thinking. Sama must be included because we are talking about contemplation upon Akshara Brahma that requires inner composure. To acquire that, one must have lived a disciplined, contented life and cultivated certain values and attitudes that will bring about, among other things, an equanimity towards all beings, Sarvatra Sama Buddhihi.
These are the things we have already discussed before also as Ashtanga Yoga, Shama, Dhamma and all that. The difference between the Ashtanga Yoga in Patanjali Yoga Sutra and the Ashtanga Yoga as is given in Karma Yoga of Gita is with the proper understanding of the Swarupa. Whereas Swarupa understanding is not talked about in Patanjali Yoga Sutra. There only removal of thought, Chitta Vritti Nirodha is only talked about. Just by removing the thoughts and sitting in Samadhi, you will be able to reach a state of being with Ishvara. Very true, like even in sleep. But the problem is how long you can sit like that if you don't understand. Here, if you understand and sit contemplative, even whether you are contemplating or whether you are dealing with the world, either way you will still be in the understanding, with the understanding only. So whenever you don't have anything else to do, you will contemplate. Whenever you have something to do, you will go and do it. So that is the difference between the Ashtanga Yoga of Patanjali and Ashtanga Yoga given in Karma Yoga of Bhagavad Gita. So that is what, and that is what the practitioners of the sannyasi and jnani, the person who has understood Akshara Brahma as his Swarupa, he will do, this is a sort of contemplation he will do. That is what he is explaining now.
Those who have these characteristics and are pursuing Akshara Brahma, Bhagavan says, they gain me alone, te prapnuvanti mam eva. They gain the Lord who was described in the previous verse as all-pervasive, sarvatraga, always connected to all things, kutastha, the basis of everything, and achala, motionless. These words describe the content of their pursuit, but they still have to live their lives. It is not that they always think about the kutastha atma. They have to relate to people and the situations they find themselves in are not always pleasant, even if they are sannyasis. They may be committed to Akshara Brahma, but they still have to face the world. A sannyasi has to meet various situations and take care of the physical body. This verse shows his discipline by the phrase Sanniyamya Indriya Gramam and his response to various situations by Sarvatra Samabuddhayaha. Sarvatra can mean in all places or at all times. There are people who have the same disposition, Samabuddhayaha, in any situation, Sarvatra. To the various situations in life, the mind has different responses. Its nature is to change. So, thoughts, attitudes and moods are constantly in a flux. Certain situation upsets you, while another elates you, and yet another situation depresses or makes you angry. This is the lot of every person. But those who have undergone the discipline of a life of Karma Yoga are not subject to these vagaries of the mind. They are Samabuddhis who maintain their composure in any situation. The mind has different processes of thinking which in themselves do not cause any problem. The problem lies only in being subject to reaction. Sarvatra Samabuddhyaha are those who have neutralized Ragadveshas by living a prayerful life. Ishwararpana Buddhi is the distinguishing feature of Karma Yoga. Through this, one can achieve relative composure, Samabuddhi. Further, with regard to their responses, they are Sarva Bhuta Iterataha, those who delight in the well-being of all creatures. This takes a lot of maturity. Generally, people do not rejoice in the happiness of others. These people, however, are not mean-spirited. On the contrary, they have compassion. They not only rejoice in the welfare of others, they are disposed to bringing it about. Though they themselves may not get involved in the help a person requires, they will always do what they can to arrange for it and will naturally pray. That prayer itself makes a person Sarva Bhuta Iterataha. Such people live a mature, compassionate life that is very important for enjoying the mind required for contemplation. Bhagavan mentions these qualities here to point out that one has to acquire them. Knowing this Akshara Brahma, they reach me alone. Prashant, will you read?
Yeah, I can. Yeah. Knowing this Akshara Brahma, they reach me alone. Bhagavan says, Temam eva prapnuvanti. Or shifting the emphasis, they alone reach me. Te eva mam prapnuvanti. They have gone through the process of Karma Yoga and have a sufficiently prepared mind, Antakarana Shuddhi, to know and therefore gain me. It is such people only, Te eva, who gain.
Te eva is the emphasis. They only. That is what is emphasizing, saying Te eva. Yeah.
Te eva, who gain Akshara Brahma through knowledge without any let or hindrance. Their viveka is mature, so nothing will stop them from reaching me. Therefore, Shankara says, there is nothing to say about them, natu tesham vaktavyam kinchit.
So, Bhagavan, Shastrakara as well as Swamiji has taken so much pain to explain that this person is excluded from the comparison which Arjuna is trying to make between this yogi and that yogi. So, the sannyasa yogi and Patanjali yogi are only can be compared, not the person who is a jnani and who is a karma yogi who has gone through the understanding of Gita and the Shastra in this manner. That person is excluded from the discussion. That for getting to that, he has explained so much about this jnani. Yeah.
Their viveka is mature, so nothing will stop them from reaching me. Therefore, Shankara says, there is nothing to say about them, natu tesham vaktavyam kinchit. Even to say they reach me is meaningless because where is the question of reaching? Is there any gap between the knowledge and the gain? No. Lord Krishna has already said, my vision is that the one who knows me, however, is indeed myself. Jnani tu atmaiva me matam.
Yeah, we have seen this before. When they described the four jnanis, this is the last one. Jnani tu atmaiva me matam. Yeah.
It cannot be otherwise. So these people cannot be compared to the karma yogis who meditate upon the Vishwarupa. Akshara Brahma upasakas cannot be said to be better in terms of being closer to moksha because they are myself. They are already free, muktaha. That's why Shankara says there is nothing to say about them. If this is so, why did Bhagavan say these karma yogis who are meditating upon Saguna Brahma are yuktatmas, the most exalted, and then say that it is the sannyasis who are pursuing Akshara Brahma that reach him. Though he said the karma yogis are the most exalted, he did not say that they reach him. Is reaching him less than doing what is required to reach him? The karma yogis are just given a nice name, yuktatmas, and left to labor at their karma yoga while the others are quietly with Bhagavan. Working so hard, they are still not reaching Bhagavan, while the sannyasis, simply sitting under a tree, are getting everything. What is this seeming inequity? From the standpoint of this Nirguna Brahma, who have to reach Bhagavan, the karma yogis who are doing upasana or Saguna Brahma are yuktatmas. Who are doing upasana on Saguna Brahma are yuktatmas. The characteristics described in this verse are not acquired without a lot of karma yoga. If one has them, one is almost a jnani. Where is the person who is not bothered by any situation, who is always composed? So among those who are pursuing in terms of qualification, adhikaritva, karma yogis who are doing upasana are yuktatmas compared to kevala karma yogis. If there is a distance to be covered and both a bicycle and a bullock cart are available, which is the best means, it all depends. If the person who is asking is lame or does not know to ride a bicycle, even though it is faster, it is useless to him. For him, the bullock cart is better. Then too, it depends on the conditions. If the road is a 2-foot wide mountain track on the edge of a cliff, both the bicycle and the bullock cart are of no use. Therefore, there is no such thing as the best. It depends on who is fit for that.
Fit for what? Who is fit for what? Yeah.
There is no such thing as the best. It depends on who is fit for what. Sorry. Avyakta Brahma Dhyana is difficult. Kleshodika
tarastesham. Like that you read.
Kleshodika tarastesham. Avyakta sakta chetasam. Avyakta hi gatir dukkam. Deha. Avyakta hi gatir dukkam. Deha. Vapyate. Dehavat viravapyate. Kleshaha, affliction. Adhikataraha, greater. Tesham, for those. Avyakta, asakta, chetasam, whose minds are committed to what cannot be objectified. Avyakta hi gatihi, because an end which cannot be objectified. Avapyate is reached. Dukkham, with difficulty. Deha Vadbihi, by those who are identified with the body. Greater is the affliction for those whose minds are committed to what cannot be objectified, for an end which cannot be objectified is reached to difficulty by those who are identified with the body.
So confusing.
Huh?
It's very confusing that.
Yeah, see, what he is trying to say is that you, since he will explain it, anyway, I am just trying to give you a preliminary explanation. The sense, the objective is to what cannot be objectified, you want to know. When you want to know what cannot be objectified, you cannot be identified with your body and mind. That's what he said. By those who are identified with their body, mind as I, it is difficult, even though he may have the qualification that Karma Yogi is referring to. The Karma Yogi, everything he does well, properly, he understands that it is, he has got Mumuksha, and his Ishwaratma Buddhi is there, and all that he is doing, he is living his life. But still, that I am trying to get to know Brahman, I am trying to get to know Atma, I want to, in the sense, he keeps the Ishvara away from himself, because he is identified with his body and mind, which we have discussed before also, that as long as you are identified with your body, mind, senses, you will not be able, that is the last portion, the sense, that is, the Karma Yogi will be able to, as the understanding progresses, as his tapas progresses, will be able to disidentify with his body, mind, senses. That is what even Arjuna is recommended. Like the Aham Mama Buddhi, you have to surrender unto Bhagavan and just do what is to be done. And that means when I surrender Aham Mama Buddhi, what am I? I am just being one with Ishvara. That is the point, that is where the Karma Yogi still not got it. That is why he is differentiating Karma Yogi from a Jnani. And the other Yogi is, he doesn't even have this. He just wants to remove all karma and thoughts and all that and sit tight. That doesn't happen. That doesn't help. At least Karma Yogi is much better off. That's what he says. Karma Yogi is better than the Yogi who is just sitting tight and without thoughtless. That is Yoga Chitta Nirodha. Without understanding or without having these qualifications and discipline and Samabuddhi and all that, the Samadama and all, without all those Adhikaritvam, sitting tight is not going to help. But this person who is a Karma Yogi will definitely, is very close to it, but still he is identified with the body, he is finding it difficult. That's what he is going to explain now. What is the difference? He is going to say. Yeah.
Kleshaha Adhikataraha
Tesham. They are still greater affliction, they have still greater affliction than the Akshara Brahma Upasakas. Yeah.
Greater than what? Something can be said to be more difficult only when what is difficult is established. Something can be said to be more difficult only when what is difficult is established.
Yeah.
Okay. The Karma Yogis who are meditating upon Saguna Brahma have klesha, affliction. Painful effort, both physical and emotional, is involved. As a Karma Yogi, you cannot always do things you like. Dharma and adharma, not what is convenient or more pleasing, are the criteria. Very often there is a conflict between dharma and raga that causes affliction in the mind, manaklesha. Such mental distress can result in physical affliction as well. Now let us
because why? Because there is something, I have told before also, the very fact you name it as pleasing and not pleasing means what? You are identified with your body, mind and senses. Then only something is ishtam and anishtam. If that identification is not there, there is no ishtam and anishtam for simply body or simply mind and simply senses. They don't have, body does not have any ishtam or anishtam. Only when you identified with the body, then there is ishtam and anishtam. Since they are identified, they have this raga and all that, but at the same time they are committed to dharma. So I have a raga which I want to fulfill, but the karma dharma does not allow it. So I am willing to go with the pain and still follow dharma yoga, but still the pain is there, the affliction is there. That is what is pointing it out. Yeah.
I only lost touch.
Oh, let us look at next
Such
para.
mental distress can result in physical affliction as well. That para.
Now let us look at the meditation of man.
தெரியாதா அந்த அப்பா படிக்கிட்டு
Yeah, let us look at the meditation of a Karma Yogi, Saguna Brahma Upasana, which has been said to be upon the Vishwarupa. It is all very well to say this, but how are you to meditate upon Saguna Brahma? If you visualize any one thing, all the others are left out. If you think of the sun and stars, everything below them is omitted. By bringing all the objects in creation to mind one by one, you cannot think of the cosmic form, and there are so many things unknown to you, which is why you choose one form and invoke all forms in that. If you know that everything is included in the cosmic form, then that is all you need to know for Upasana. Even keeping the mind focused on one form is difficult. If you think of Vishnu's feet, it is good enough. From the head you come to the feet and stay there. But the mind does not stay there. So keeping it there is klesha. Even though there are great difficulties for the Karma Yogi who is mat karma krita, who is totally committed to Bhagavan, the difficulties of those committed to the pursuit of Akshara Brahma are even greater. Kleshaha adhikataraha. Here, Bhagavan uses the comparative affix tara. Identification with the body is an obstacle for Nirguna Brahma Dhyana. The affliction is even greater because they have identification with the body. Deha Abhimana. It means their Atma Anatma Viveka is not complete. Sannyasis cannot be contemplative if they lack Viveka. Without it, their pursuit will be improper because of confusion about what they are doing. Dehavad means the one who has a body. Everybody has a body. So what it means here is those who have identification with the body. For them, meditation upon Akshara Brahma is almost impossible. Meditation here means contemplation preceded by Shravana and Manana. All these become very difficult. Why is there more difficulty? Because the sannyasi is trying to give up his identification with the body. What could be more difficult? They are called Avyakta, Asakta, Chetasaha. Their minds are totally committed. Asavantat, Saktam, to the pursuit of Avyakta, that which is not available for objectification. They have given up the life of Karma Yoga and taken to a life of renunciation for the sake of Aksharam Brahma. It means they should be ready for it. If it is difficult for sannyasis to contemplate upon a self that cannot be objectified, how much more difficult would it be for Karma Yogis?
Swami will stop here.
Yeah, I can stop here. It goes on. It goes on for 2 more pages, so we can stop here. So the second para and 151, we have to start with. So here basically the comparison is Karma Sannyasi and Karma Yogi and Jnani is to be left out, who has already understood, who has no identification with the body. He is very clear about it. There is no klesha because there is no affliction. He is left out. The Karma Yogi who is living a proper life and is what do you call it? Ishwaratma Buddhi is there, Prasada Buddhi is there. He is now doing the Upasana. The other one is Karma Sannyasi who has not gone through the process of Karma Yogi in terms of all the ashramas, but at the same time he is committed to the understanding. So it is more difficult for him. That sort of a comparison is being made. Karma Sannyasi and Karma Yogi, not the Jnani, who is a Sarva Karma Sannyasi, who has already understood and they have already. So there is no comparison with him. That also is made clear and he will explain it further. So,
I think we can, after finishing this,
third chapter.
No, this verse alone, I think it's better to again go through it again.
Yeah, sure, definitely. I will also see whether I have done any contraption on that. I might have done it. I will get back, otherwise we will go through it again. Yes.
3 and 4.
Yeah. 3 and 4 only is elaborately explained here.
Yeah, yes,
we will do that. We will do that.
Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate Om Shanti Shanti.